There are moments in golf that feel bigger than a leaderboard. Moments when you can almost feel the sport holding its breath. And this felt like one of them. Because for so long, the emotional center of golf was Tiger Woods. Even when he wasn't winning, even when he was limping, battling pain, or just trying to make it to Sunday, the game still seemed to orbit around him. His presence meant something. It made tournaments feel heavier, more important, more alive. But then came a moment nobody could ignore. Tiger was out, and suddenly, golf was staring into a strange silence. A question started hanging over everything. If Tiger is no longer the force that carries the story, then who is? And that's where Rory McIlroy entered the picture in a way that felt different. Not just as a star, not just as a champion, but as someone who may have shifted the entire feeling of modern golf. Because what happened next wasn't just a win. It wasn't just a headline. It was something deeper. If you truly love golf, if this game means something to you, and if you enjoy stories that remind us why we care so much, then subscribe and become part of this golf family. Because golf is more than scores and trophies. It's pressure, legacy, heartbreak, and those rare moments that stay with us long after the final putt drops. For years, Rory McIlroy has lived in a strange place in golf. He was never overlooked, never doubted in terms of talent. Everybody knew the swing was there. Everybody knew the power was there. Everybody knew that when Rory was on, he could make golf look easier than almost anyone on earth. But that was also the burden. Because when you're that gifted, people stop asking if you can win. They start asking why you haven't won more. Why certain moments slipped away. Why the majors didn't keep coming. Why the story never fully matched the talent. And that pressure followed Rory everywhere. Every big Sunday. Every missed chance. Every close call. Every time the cameras found his face after a mistake, golf fans felt it. Because Rory wasn't just losing tournaments. Sometimes it felt like he was fighting the weight of expectation itself. But here's the part nobody talks about. That kind of pressure can either harden you or hollow you out. It can make you sharper, or it can make you more careful, more fearful, more trapped inside your own head. And for a while, it honestly looked like Rory was carrying too much history into every major moment. Not because he lacked courage, but because he cared. That's what made it painful to watch sometimes. Golf fans didn't see a player who didn't want it badly enough. They saw a player who maybe wanted it so badly that it became heavier with every year. And while all that was happening, Tiger Woods remained the standard in the background. Not just because of the wins, because of the aura. Tiger changed how golf felt. He turned tournaments into events. He turned pressure into theater. He made people believe that one player could bend the mood of an entire sport. So even as golf tried to move forward, part of it was still emotionally tied to Tiger. Still waiting. Still hoping. Still looking back. Then everything shifted. Tiger being out didn't just remove a legend from the field. It forced golf fans to confront something uncomfortable. An era was fading, whether we were ready or not. And when that happens in sports, the next chapter either arrives with power, or the whole thing feels smaller. That's why Rory's moment mattered so much. Because this wasn't just about him finally getting over the line. It was about a game searching for emotional gravity and finding it in a player who had spent years being tested in public. And this is where everything changed. Rory stopped feeling like a player chasing ghosts and started feeling like a player making peace with them. That's a huge difference. When golfers press, you can see it. The rhythm changes. The body gets quick. The decisions get defensive. The game starts looking like survival instead of expression. But when a player finally accepts the moment instead of fighting it, the whole picture changes. And with Rory, you could feel that emotional shift. Not perfection, not robotic control. Something better. Freedom with scars. Confidence with memory. A champion who still understood how fragile golf can be, but was no longer afraid of that truth. That's powerful. Because real golf fans know this game is cruel. It doesn't always reward talent on time. It doesn't always respect momentum. It can make the best player in the world look lost in the span of 3 holes. That's why when someone keeps coming back, keeps standing in the fire, keeps believing after disappointment, it means something. Rory became more than a highlight machine in that moment. He became relatable. And wait till you hear what happened next. Because the real reason this changed, everything wasn't just the result. It was the symbolism. Think about what golf has been wrestling with over the last several years. Division, noise, arguments, identity questions. Endless debate about the future of the professional game. For a lot of fans, the emotional simplicity of golf got buried under business, politics, and constant distractions. But then Rory reminded people what cuts through all of that. One player, one round, one nerve-filled moment, one human being trying to hold himself together with history watching. That's golf. That's the heartbeat of the sport. And in a strange way, Tiger's absence made that even clearer. Because when Tiger was at his peak, he didn't just win. He made people feel the weight of winning. Rory, in his own completely different way, brought that feeling back. Not with intimidation, not with fear, but with vulnerability, resilience, and emotional honesty. That matters in today's game. Because modern fans don't just connect to dominance. They connect to struggle, to scars, to someone who has been doubted, questioned, and dissected, and still find a way to stand up again. And that's why this moment landed so hard. It told every golf fan that greatness doesn't always look the same. Tiger's greatness felt like a storm. Rory's can feel like release. Tiger made you stare in disbelief. Rory can make you believe in persistence. Tiger often felt invincible. Rory feels human. And sometimes, in this era, human is exactly what the sport needs. But here's where the story gets even deeper. Because changing everything doesn't mean replacing Tiger Woods. Nobody replaces Tiger. There is no second Tiger. There never will be. That chapter of golf is untouchable. What Rory changed was something else. He changed the emotional direction of the game. He reminded people that golf can still produce redemption stories powerful enough to stop everybody in their tracks. He reminded younger players that talent alone is not the full story. And he reminded fans that sometimes the most meaningful victories come after years of carrying disappointment in front of the whole world. That kind of win doesn't just go into a record book. It changes how people see you forever. Now suddenly, Rory isn't just the gifted star. He's not just a guy with a beautiful swing. He's not just the player who used to come up one step short in the moments that hurt most. Now he feels like something more complete, a survivor of his own expectations. A player who stayed in the fight long enough for the story to turn. A symbol that maybe golf's most powerful moments still belong to the ones who refuse to give up. And this is the part that should excite every golf fan. Because if Rory can evolve like this, the entire sport opens up emotionally. Now, every major feels different. Every leaderboard with Rory on it feels heavier. Every Sunday becomes more interesting. Because now fans aren't just watching talent. They're watching a legacy that has been reshaped in real time. That changes how opponents see him too. Not because they fear the old version of Rory, who could blow fields away with pure brilliance, but because they now have to deal with a version that has gone through the emotional furnace and come out stronger. That's dangerous. That's the kind of player who doesn't panic as quickly. The kind who understands the cost of letting moments slip and therefore values every shot more deeply. And yet, the beauty of it is this. Rory still feels like Rory. The speed is still there. The swing is still there. The charisma is still there. The honesty is still there. Only now, the story around him feels heavier, richer, more meaningful. And maybe that's what golf needed all along. Not a copy of Tiger. Not another impossible icon. Just a player brave enough to carry the game forward in his own way. Someone who could remind us that golf is still capable of producing moments that feel personal, that feel earned, that feel bigger than one tournament. Because when Tiger was out, a lot of fans felt the emotional void immediately. That's just the truth. Golf without Tiger has often felt like it was still searching for its next deep emotional center. Rory didn't fill that void by trying to become Tiger. He changed everything by being fully himself at exactly the right moment. And that may be even more important. Because the future of golf won't survive on imitation. It will survive on authenticity. On players whose stories are real enough, fragile enough, and powerful enough to make us care. That's why this matters. That's why fans felt it. That's why this wasn't just another win. It was a signal that golf can still move forward without losing its soul. A signal that the next great chapter of this sport may not be built on fear and domination alone, but also on resilience, honesty, and earned redemption. And honestly, that should make every golf fan proud. Because this game is hard, brutal even. It humbles legends. It exposes nerves. It punishes ego. And still, people come back. Still, They chase something perfect in a sport that never lets you hold perfection for long. That's why stories like this matter. Tiger Woods gave golf one of its most unforgettable eras. That can never be taken away. But Rory McIlroy showed us that the game can still evolve, still surprise us, still hit us emotionally in a completely different way. Not by erasing the past, by honoring it, and then pushing forward. And maybe that's the real story here. Tiger was out, but golf was not. Because Rory McIlroy stepped into that silence and turned it into something meaningful. So now I want to ask you, do you think Rory's moment truly changed the direction of modern golf? Or do you believe the sport is still waiting for its next defining era? Let me know in the comments. I really want to hear where you stand on this. And if you love golf for the stories, the pressure, and the emotion behind every shot, stay with this channel. Because we're going to keep telling the stories that make this game unforgettable.